Joe, do you wanna come up? So then, okay, okay. Go ahead, Lee, you and this gentleman. Tell us what you got in mind.
Well, I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to us this morning. We both reside out in Cedar Lane Subdivision, and the question comes into just road maintenance, kind of. And I know the topic's been brought up before, but there's a solution somewhere. I firmly believe that in every case out, you know, we deal with that day in and day out through our lives. There's a solution out there, and we just want to get together and kind of see what are the options. You know, there may not be anything defined hard, but what are the options?
Joe, what would it take to get that road before the county goes out? I know you talked one time, $75,000 or something. Is there,
I have no idea about money at this point in time. I know that in the past, it's been brought up since probably 10 years before I was even county engineer. And it's been brought up since I've been county engineer. I think it keeps getting brought up. But I think, and of course, we've been through, I guess, community meetings with people that live out there and everything before. And of course, Patrick Winghorst, our state's attorney, has been part of those discussions as well. I think there's still a significant portion of the subdivision that has never been platted correctly, or maybe has not been platted at all and recorded. And that is one of the, that is a main hang-up that needs to be done. And I can't answer you as to right off the cuff as to what needs to be done to get it platted correctly. I mean, a surveyor has to come up with the correct plat, and it has to meet all the rules and regulations, and it has to be filed here in the courthouse. But as far as physically fixing the road, I mean, that is one of the main things by law that has to be done before we could even have a chance of taking a road over. But then, you know, as far as taking the road over in the highway department, the road district, however you want to put it, you know, we just have a small set of rules as to how a road needs to be constructed and what needs to be in place before we would take it over. And that's basically it. I mean, there's a lot of problems out there that, you know, if we ever got to where we would take it over, it may need to be, you know, we may just need to learn to live with it, I guess you would say, because, you know, in order for a road to be constructed right, you gotta have proper ditches and proper drainage and everything else, and none of that is out there. I mean, there's some that's okay, but then there's others that people have filled in ditches. There's nothing for drainage, and that's why the road keeps deteriorating as fast as it does, because there's no way for the water to get away in a lot of cases. But fixing the road surface would just take, you know, basically milling it all back up and putting some new rock down and starting over with the road surface. You know, in general, the county's requirements on taking a road over is basically having, I think, 7 inches of limestone rock in a 2-coat oil and chip. You know, at one time, I don't think there was ever any limestone down. It was a thin asphalt layer put over red rock, and that's another, I guess, bad construction point of the road, that usually asphalt or oil and chip doesn't last when you put it over red rock. But I mean, it's nothing that's rocket science. It's nothing that can't be done. It's just costs money.
So,
Well, Joe, could they put that limestone on top of that red, like 2 or 3 inches? Then it would work okay.
Yeah. I mean, the way to fix the road now, I mean, if you just forget about drainage and all that for a minute, if you just wanted to fix the road surface, you just have to basically till up all the stuff that's out there now, regrade it, put some limestone down, and then pave it, repave it. Obviously, rolling it in and making it compact, you know, before you do that. I mean, and the total hangup is just the money, I guess. I mean, that's, you know, if I guess the way it was presented in the past, I think I don't remember how many years ago we visited this situation. It was probably in 2014, maybe, something like that.
Probably been a little bit longer.
I got to be county engineer in 2013, so I know it's been at least since then. It was either late 2013 or early 2014. And there was probably a dozen or better residents that came to meet with us upstairs here about it. And, you know, when we lined out getting the plat fixed and getting it recorded and, you know, trying to get the road fixed, I mean, and what I mean by that, the residents out there trying to pool together to get a contractor to come out and fix it, and then we can take it over. That was a no-go for everyone at the time. Nobody wanted to do that or take the lead. They just basically wanted the county highway department to do it all. And that was where the impasse was. And
There was a dollar figure on that too that we kind of came up with, wasn't it? At the time, there was so much per resident out there.
I don't know that, Jason. I mean,
There's 49 houses, from where Cedar Lane is currently being maintained into the back of that subdivision.
Does that include vacant lots?
That does not
No.
include vacant
Okay.
lots. That's just residential houses. So,
Was you all at those meetings before?
I came to one since
Okay.
I've been.
I've been at.
Yeah, so you were familiar with where it was, the impasse was last time, I guess. Why do you feel like it was that, or why do you feel like it stopped there?
I'm not from here.
Yeah.
I mean, man, at that meeting, it was very personal. I mean, it was kind of like a awkward family Thanksgiving dinner where two people didn't get along.
Oh, okay.
And I'm being very honest, from the county engineer to, a resident out there to, man, it was an awkward situation of going, man, we're not gonna find a resolve here today because this is an emotional meeting. I mean, there's no, and I think people just threw their hands up. What I do know, I mean, I'll speak for myself, and I know tax rates have a ton of things that get chipped away and, you know, serve for multiple purposes. But I went through everybody's tax rate. For me, I'm the second highest paying tax out in that subdivision. I mean, I pay $4,300 a year to watch my property value fall. And at some point, I think what we've got, when we talk about finances, we're all invested into it. I pay taxes as a community service to support local government at the end of the day, whether it's schools, the facility we're sitting in, the jobs that it provides. Taxes have a meaning. Property taxes in Illinois, for example, I'm from Kentucky. Kentucky has a 6% state income tax. We pay 4.5%. We rely a lot on property taxes over here to cover that deficit, right? Because in the grand scheme of things shake out to be about the same, regardless if you're in Tennessee and don't pay any state income tax, but you pay higher sales tax. You're going to generate revenue, and that's what it comes down to. At what point do we let things get so bad that tax rates need to be adjusted? Because our property value, if you pull it up, when I bought my house, the average house was listed for 170 to 180, 200. They're selling out there for 120, 130. It's simple math. We're both invested, but tax rates at some point are going to have to be adjusted too, because people's homes values are declining, and that's just a fact of it. I'll be the first one to say that I'm going to put an inquiry, because I've checked it all. I pay about $1,500 more than the average out there for a home value that's quite honestly the same.
I can't say I blame you there.
But
when a new subdivision goes in, is the county engineer supposed to kind of oversee, make sure roads are being done properly? Or what? I mean, somebody had to be out there to see if this was being done right. You know, when we bought our lots, built our homes, we had no idea what was supposed to be done or not. We just assumed everything was up to par. Then all of a sudden, you know, we just get it dropped in our lap, you
Right.
know.
We're not paying like a homeowners association. There's no
Right.
organization out there. The question lies in too, who owns the road? I mean, I gotta pay, if, I've heard it every year that I've been out there, they're private roads. That's fine, I gotta pay taxes on my property. Who owns those roads? Because maybe that's where we need to go. There's somebody that owns that property. Somebody's gotta be paying taxes on that property if it's private. I'd like to know who to contact there, because maybe that's the avenue we go down.
I don't know if this would answer your question or not, but I can tell you, per se, there's a 40-acre tract of land out in the county somewhere. The way that the taxes are paid on that 40 acres, more than, if there's a road on one side of it, they're paying taxes to the middle of that road, and the adjacent tract is paying to the middle of the road too. Even though there's a county right-of-way or a right-of-way.
But that's on a county road, right?
I would say it'd be on a county or a state or whatever road.
A private road. If I take that 40-acre tract, and I pave a road right down through the center of it, and it's not being state maintained, county maintained, city maintained, no government,
Sounds to me like it's your road.
then who's paying taxes on those roads out there?
I'm gonna say that whoever the homeowners are will be.
But when our
I would
plots-
have to do a survey, I can't tell you.
But I can tell you from my plot and my survey from when I bought my house, I stop about 4 feet shy of the road for the property deeded to me. So my question goes, if we're gonna call them private, who owns those roads? Because in your scenario, I think what you're saying is that the state or some type of
A
government
municipality, yeah,
is maintaining it, the taxes is paid to the center.
that's my understanding.
From my understanding of my plot, I stopped short of my ditch. So if
In
it's
my
private,
recollection, that is somehow tied into a bankruptcy or foreclosure lawsuit.
so how do we gain somebody still has to own it? I mean, if I foreclose my house, US Bank is gonna own my house. Somebody still has to own those roads if we're calling them private. And how do we attain that? Because I've searched and searched and searched through the Massac County, plot diagram that you can go out there and pull up, and it'll pull up footage for every deed that's plotted in the county. How do we pull up who owns those roads? Because none of them have a plot on it. And there's about 3 or 4 lots that's shown as a bank owner in the back of that subdivision.
I believe Banterra Bank was involved in the repossession or bankruptcy or whatever. Am I incorrect or correct?
That's correct.
I don't know whether there's anybody at Banterra that could tell you.
Is there any, I
mean,
guess my,
it would have to be in the court system somehow, as far as when that was in legal proceedings. Whoever owned it versus whoever was getting it taken from, Gary Gentry would be involved in that at that
There was
time.
another gentleman involved in it too. You know who I'm speaking of, Gerald, that was involved in the property out there with Gary. He was part owner in it. You know, he drove a truck, had his own truck, that was his name.
but it stands to reason if, you know, I'm responsible for the maintenance of my property. Whoever owns the roads in, if they're private, maybe that's the rabbit hole we go down. I mean, I think the angst in that community gets of going, I'm gonna go out and spend $3,000 on something that's non-tangible for me. I mean, other than, you know, I have a road, but I think that's where taxes come back into it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I feel that way, going, man, I pay a high amount of taxes, I feel, for where I live. And it's like a mining field to get to my house every day. And it's like, man, you figure that and that's where I think there's a resolve somewhere, but we're all invested. I mean, as a community, we're invested. Quick math, I mean, that community's generating well north of $150,000 a year in tax revenue. And that's an average. I mean, some people's paying $1,800 a year and some people's paying $5,600 a year.
What would you like for the county to do? What do you feel that's fair?
I don't know. I guess part of what's our options? I'm coming in here as a citizen having to research and read verbiage through tax laws and the difference between real tax and homeland or home, farm, non-farm tax. I'm trying to do all the research on that as a citizen, where I'm somewhat informed around what's going on. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what levers the county has to pull. I've even gone to the point of, I've thought about going out and buying my own equipment and trying to do something. And I don't care to go out and spend $4,000 to buy the equipment and do it. But I mean, that's where I'm at on a personal level. But I know my neighbor is maybe they're not in a position to do that, or maybe they're not willing to do that. But I've seen my property value fall, several $1,000s over the last few years, and I don't want to be in that situation. I'd like to reinvest back into this community, and anyway, I don't know what the options is. I guess I don't know what I don't know. So from a county aspect, I don't know. Somebody to guide us of going, here's our options. We got A, B, or C. Which one works? How do we get people together out there to come to a mutual agreement? It gets very emotional.
I think, that's really what we tried to do last time. I mean, we had a lot of meetings, and I know Joe spent a lot of time researching stuff. Patrick looked at the legal side. I thought we came up with a number per house, and I think he just kind of went separate from there.
Well, the thing is, we're kind of in the situation of like your neighbor that you mentioned. I mean, we're a highway department, a public agency that just doesn't have the revenue to put into fixing the stuff out there, number one, and we really don't even have the manpower to do it, even if we had the revenue right now. Because of the whole entire system that we take care of, we couldn't spend that amount of time fixing those roads. So what we wanted to see done was, number one, get it all legal as far as the platting is concerned, so that we can take them over. And number two, try to get you and your neighbors to somehow pool together and hire a contractor to fix them to the point where we would accept it, and then take it over after it was fixed. Because, again, we don't have the money, and we don't have the manpower to actually do the fixing.
What's it cost per mile? I mean, to fix something like that, there's about 1.5 miles of road out there that needs to be fixed.
Basically, you're talking about built, 1.5 miles of road that needs to be built.
You've got to,
might as well say.
you've got to till it up, and you've got to put limestone down, and then you've got to redo the paving surface on it. So I can't answer that because I don't know what kind of fees that the contractor charges, but as far as for the all the prep work and everything that needs to be done. But,
What's chip and seal cost a mile? 15,000, or does that include labor?
I'll tell you here in a second what our cost is. I can tell you. Costs about $40,000 a mile.
For chip and seal?
And then, labor on top of that to prep it all before you do that. I'd be safe to say a contractor couldn't do it for $40,000 a mile. They would charge more because they have to make profit.
quick math, I mean, you're looking at $2,500 at minimum, a household out there. I mean, just, you don't have to answer that, I don't wanna back anybody into a corner saying something that's not accurate. No, you won't get that. I think you're, I don't know.
I mean, when people do pay on existing county roads and on existing road district roads that are currently gravel, people will come in all the time wanting it to be oil and chipped, and they pay for our cost to do it, and that's the cost that I told you just a minute ago. That's what we charge, just to recoup our cost.
Of material,
Well,
or is there any labor on that, or are we charging for that?
it's labor on doing the oil and chip. It's just material on rock.
So that's starting from scratch, because everything I've read is, you know, $18,000 for a 2-layer oil and chip for materials. And I've pulled it across the United States, and that rate seems to be fairly consistent across the United States.
15 to 18,000 for 2 layers.
For 2 layers.
For the material?
Just the top layers, not tapping any bed or anything. But
Per mile, you say?
that's what I mean, of course, you can't believe everything on the internet, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can almost believe that. That's about $3.40 a foot for buying the material.
Yeah.
I can believe that. I mean, you're talking about, you know, adding on to that, you know, all the trucking costs and everything else as well, and the manpower to put it down. So that's an extra $2 on top of that. So that makes it $5.40, and then the rock, if you have to put rock underneath it, you know, the material and the labor to put that down is another couple dollars. That's why it gets up to around 40,000.
Joe, why do you think that road failed?
Well, I mean, most of the time roads fail because of moisture. I mean, because it's not drained properly and may not have been constructed properly, but
May not have enough material under it.
yeah, I don't know what kind of material it has. I mean, I know that reportedly it was red gravel on the road, and then they put a thin layer of asphalt over it. Well,
Just that asphalt cracked, it let water down through there.
well, I mean, just not having ditches to drain it away normally, just, it introduces a problem. Excuse me. But, you know, just age will cause the road to deteriorate some as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you
As
gotta
far as
keep-
the drainage, I mean, I've lived there for 13 years. I think I've seen water stand or pool in the road besides potholes in one section in that subdivision. I've yet to ever not, it can come the most torrential downpour, and
It doesn't just have to stand there. I mean, when you have a saturated ground and there's not any ditches for it to drain out of it, just saturated ground, when you just keep on driving over it and pumping it, it causes it to get soft and potholing. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to stand to cause a problem. That's why, you know, when you have a road, typically, you know, you have a crown on the road so it drains off, and then you have a ditch that goes down below. That way, all of this under here can drain out into the ditch and stay pretty dry. If, like in Cedar Lane, a lot of it, I know there's some ditches out there, but a lot of it, people's filled in to where the road is basically like this, and then here's a yard.
right.
So all of this stays saturated under here a lot of time. You know, and that's no fault of just, not even just cracks in the road. I mean, water that hits out here in the yards will just saturate the ground, and it'll just permeate through the whole ground. That's why if you have, you know, curb and gutter and storm sewers, a lot of times you have, you know, a road section with a curb on either side, and then you have storm sewers underneath here, you know, that some of this drains into the rock and it goes out through the outside of the pipes.
Do y'all have any advice on where to find who actually has the deed for the lands of the road? I mean, I don't know where to even begin, and, you know, I don't care to go down that rabbit hole, but I truly feel like whoever owns those roads, it's not on my deed. It is, should be responsible.
I text Gary Ham, he might not be here today, he's the property tax assessor in Batesman. I would start with his office, see if he can help you. I was gonna see if he could come up here, but he might not be here today.
You know,
Had a meeting yesterday.
a lot of times on roads, I mean, depending on how the right-of-ways are handled, I think in Illinois, there's a couple different ways to handle rights-of-way. If you just dedicate a right-of-way like a normal county road, like what Jeff was saying, nobody else ever really owns the road other than it's actually on the individual property owners on each side. It just goes to the center, but there's a right-of-way. It's almost like an easement that is granted to the public agency when they accept the road to maintain that. Other times, like in Cedar Lane's case or something, when you plat and dedicate the road for public use, and that, like you're saying, you have a lot that's yours that you pay taxes on. That road is basically just dedicated for public use, quote unquote. And I'm just an engineer. I don't know about taxes. Okay, I don't know how to in the legal aspect of it, but my vision of it is that it just gets dedicated to public use and it's just deleted from charging property taxes on it.
But somebody would still own that, right?
Not necessarily.
When I moved there, Jerry Gentry owned it, because I paid my water bill to him for.
Well, then he still may own it.
That's what I'm saying.
He still may own
I just have a
Because
hard time believing that somebody had got something to do with that, somewhere.
it. I mean, in certain times, you know, like if we decided we needed to put a major road through somebody's field or something like that, we would go out and purchase the right of way, and it would be the county's property then. So there's different ways of handling rights of way, and really only an attorney can answer those questions, and especially for your specific case, because there's a lot of weird aspects to your case to where some of it hadn't been platted properly, it really hadn't been dedicated for public use, and parts of it have, so. And it really just falls down to a money thing for the county, I mean, for the highway department. I mean,
It does
if we
for
had,
residents.
it
It does
does
for
for you too.
residents too. I mean,
If we had the money, you know, I'd fix every darn road that we had in the county if we had the money to do it, and, I mean, but, you know, we had the resources to do it, but, I mean, it's not like I'm deliberately trying to make it
No, I
bad for
don't.
people. I don't want it to be bad for anybody, I really
think
don't.
bad at all, I think it's a bad situation all the way around, but it is what it is, so.
Well, did he actually just choose on his own not to do the roads properly?
Well,
Or, I mean,
I-
is there something that he should have,
I can't really attest to
like
that.
yourself, could you make him do it right if
I-
you were out there?
I heard when he was developing that, and this is just a rumor, I don't know, I heard that he made the conscious decision to not want.
In that chair, but if I'm running a budget, doesn't that become a concern of, I've got 49 potential houses that I may have to adjust rates down?
I mean, it's gonna affect, you know, it'll affect everyone, it'll affect the school district the most, I mean, that's the largest taxing body.
I
down
get
there.
it,
Yeah.
but
It'll affect your fire district, your hospital, Shawnee Community
I
College.
get it, but at the same
everyone.
time, as a citizen, I don't wanna be overtaxed for my property value versus the next person.
Right.
And what it affects, I completely agree. But isn't that concerning? It is to me, as a citizen. But when you take 50 houses, 49 other properties, I mean, when you start looking at it, the average for the county is somewhere in $1,100 for tax rates on $81,000 home value. The rate that I pay, it's somewhere north of like $250,000 for my assessed value of a home. And I haven't got a house ever out there sold for $250,000. So, I'm just saying, that money that we're asking all the citizens to come up with is probably the same money out there that we're being overcharged on taxes a year. We both got skin in the game. I just don't know how many people go out there and get onto a government website that's free for everybody to get on and start looking at. Zillow app's a great app because it tells you prior tax history like that. I don't know. We both got skin in the game. There's a solution. We just got to put our heads together and come up with it. But, I don't know. That's the concerning piece for me. I don't want to lose. I didn't move to Metropolis to lose property value. And for most people out there, we buy a house thinking it's going to assess at a greater rate and appreciate in value, but in our community, it's depreciating. But we pay about 3 1/3% higher tax rate, I think, on average, this math I done last night, than the county in that community. And I'm not saying money buys everything, but it's disheartening to, like I said, to drive around mine holes to get to your house. And it's nobody's fault in here. Mine, Dan, y'all, but there's a solution. So that's it. I'll get off my soapbox. I'm not trying to be emotional, but I know there's a solution somewhere. There's a median between us as a citizen and the local government to come up with a solution. And I think we all owe it to each other to do it.
Yeah. The only thing I can add to all that is that it's been 3-4 years since I've even looked at this. I mean, and there wasn't, Patrick and I had, Patrick is the state attorney. We talked about this in depth, and we had meetings, like I said, we both have notes in our files. And I can go back through my file and maybe talk to him, he might be able to go back through his. We can kind of rekindle where we left off as far as the list of items that needed to be done, to be able to take it over. And it's possible we might be able to come up with some estimates on what it would cost for construction as well. And, if we do that, starting somewhere, still may not be end up in the place where you want to end up, but at least we can talk about it more and try to rekindle where we were at and see if we want to move forward. Because last time, and Jason was part of it too. I mean, last time it got, like you said, a little bit flustered up there in that meeting, and several people just walked out and left, and it was kind of just left alone, man, and we all forgot about it. So I just wrote down my phone number for you, and maybe we can. I mean, honestly, I knew you were coming in yesterday afternoon, so I didn't have time to go back through anything. So I do have a file in my office now.
And we just wanted to come kind of get thought starters around what to do. And maybe Dan and I was more concerned about than the other 47 people back there. I don't know. We haven't had this big, community event of going, hey, we're gonna go. Only thing I know is it's deserving of looking at it, nonetheless. So, anyway.
Yeah, we're not gonna survive another winter like we had.
No, I can tell you, I mean,
It's bad.
concern, now I think we could fix those potholes. I haven't been out there long, but I don't know that that would cure the problem.
Yeah,
I mean, man can fill them up, and
Dan and I was poured concrete with
Oh,
some
yeah.
rebar and
We spent money.
trying to fix some potholes, and what we're finding is it just,
yeah,
the
Yeah,
pothole
around
comes
the
back
yeah.
twice as big
Yeah.
around where you fix one issue, and I don't know. It's bigger than he or I, and I've looked at it every which way. And I feel like I have anyway, I say that, no engineering, any of that stuff.
Thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate
it
your time.
over to the county at the time he was building it. Because even on one of the plats, it says these roads are to be private. And it says that on one of the plats, on one of the recorded plats. So I think Gary, or whoever the developer was, along with Gary, made the conscious decision to not want to turn it over to the county. And there's people that do that. I mean, I've talked to a few people that just don't want to because they don't want to spend the extra money to build the road to the standard.
That's all fine and dandy till the person goes broke or dies.
But in the, not 99 times out of 100, probably 100 times out of 100, it happens the way it's going on now. They don't get left holding the bag. It's the people who bought lots and built houses out there that get left holding the bag.
This is what has happened.
And, you know, we're not asking necessarily for somebody to come in there and rescue us all, but
You know what?
Hang on, something. Yeah, she's not there right now. She had to go to the doctor this morning.
So we had 246,000 in the account, is that right?
Then we had to take payroll off.
Payroll out, so we got 129,000.
Yes.
Sheriff would be smiling.
I just need 122.
But unfortunately, the judge has stepped in front of your doors.
You got very much?
A little bit. Are you talking about dollar figure?
No.
Oh, good, then.
I know you're broke, like the rest of us.
Need my soul to come on up.
Yeah, you got a minute, come on up.
Yeah, take that chair, this one here.
Okay.
Basically, I'll just give them a start of it. Karla's coming by today, we had met, and I printed off the email to kind of get y'all up to date. I guess a few weeks ago, her and I met down at the other location, and she was looking for some options during the Metropolis Superman celebration to host some of the guests that do autographs and some other things. And we also came back here to she came back and looked at the small courtroom as an option too. We ran it all by Patrick. He seems to deal with it on the legal side. And if you want to take it from there and talk about how it would benefit the Superman celebration and let the guys know what your plans are with the locations down there.
Well, this year, we've lost two of our key locations. The Carpenter Junior Hall, we were always able to use that for our artists and writers, and we don't have that this year. The reason being that somewhere up the line, another Union Hall had something that happened that resulted in some injuries, and it was a lawsuit. So the headquarters decided that they could no longer rent out to any private activities. And that was across the board. All union halls under that headquarters had to make that decision. So that was kind of out of our locals' hands. They have to do what they're told, by the big chiefs. So we did not have that. And then we were really just kind of short of spaces. This is the 40th. This is going to be a big one. We have a lot of special guests that we have coming in. And are pretty desperate for locations. And of course, we thought of the annex, and then we knew the small courtroom was also empty for the most part. So we were kind of hoping that the county would be very generous with some of their spaces and help us out with putting on a great event for this year. the chamber, and I had talked to Patrick Horse and also Jason, that the Chamber of Commerce has a $2 million policy, liability policy, that we have for our events. So whenever we have another location, we're always able to add that on. So in case that's any concern, when we, the old Clark School property, when we would have the carnival there, we would actually get that from the Souders. And so we would add them onto that. So we're absolutely willing to do that too, if that's any reassurance. And I will add too, that we always have extra people on hand to make sure that nobody's going into any space that they're not supposed to be going into. We have plenty of staff members, and we also are very diligent about when we leave for the day, it is every bit as clean, if not cleaner, than what we found.
And how many days event is it?
Thursday through Sunday, it's a 4-day event, June 7th through the 10th.
Would you want in both locations, just one or the other?
We would love both. That would be absolutely wonderful.
What they're interested in at the annex building is, when you walk in that large office, you know, that
In the
we
back.
don't know, on the main floor, like where we have our Christmas party
Yeah.
the last couple of years, that room that sits behind that,
Yeah.
they would like to use those 2 rooms, and then, I believe just on Friday and Saturday, the large courtroom downstairs, or just Saturday?
Just Saturday for the large courtroom.
And they was just gonna use that back section of the large courtroom on Saturday only. And then, the small courtroom, you were gonna use all 4 days?
Yes.
Yes. And, they don't think any, usually during the Superman celebration, in the past, they usually don't have much court during that time, so it won't be an issue with the court system either. So just kinda let y'all know the areas that they would like to use.
And also if it was possible, as you walk into the annex to the left where the Eau Teller section is, that area, since there's no offices or anything right there.
So,
We're looking for all the space that we could get.
I'm fine with it.
I don't have any issue with it.
what we can do, we can, ask Patrick, and, he said we probably need to put it on the agenda for next week and make a motion to vote on it.
Okay.
So we'll get that set up, and you don't have to be here, but, we'll just put it on the agenda that, we're gonna vote on it and accept it, that way, we have record of it.
Sure.
And, he just said, make sure that we follow up with, make sure you put us on the insurance.
Absolutely.
And, I guess that's it,
Okay.
so, all right,
All
Thank you
right.
very
Well,
much.
Thanks for
we
coming
really
in.
appreciate it.
appreciate it, thank you.
All right. Maybe get you guys a T-shirt.
We need one.
Yeah.
All right.
Bills. Gerald's copy. Thank you. I don't know why I ain't never noticed this before, but what makes your, dispatchers to not get paid overtime? Let me reread this, see if I'm reading something wrong.
The ones in yellow is what needs to
I've
be
got the
paid.
wrong one. I got the wrong one. Hang on just a second. Oh, I have the holidays when I'm looking at it. Same rate for holiday pay for them?
If they're off, they get a flat 8 hours, if they work, they
Okay.
get 12. Which one was that?
Well, Brian would wanna, where am I at here? So you got, what, holiday? Says 6.
That was just gonna, sure, unless he worked overtime on the holiday.
Overtime on a holiday, what? Well, he's got 1 hour premium pay, 4 of that. I was just a little perplexed, that's all, it happens.
Yeah, work overtime on a holiday, it's time and a half. If they work the holiday, they get time and a half for the holiday.
If they don't, they get regular pay, correct?
Yeah.
So it's either regular pay or time and a half. Or if they work overtime,
Should be double time.
it should be double.
That's what we get on holiday.
We've run into that situation before. If you're working a holiday, you get time and a half for the holiday. If you have to work over a second shift, we have to pay you an extra holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what,
But sometimes they don't have to work a whole shift, maybe they just have to work half a shift. So they get,
like 12 instead of 8.
yeah.
So if they're working on the holiday, do they get the holiday pay plus the time and a half? Or that time and a half is included?
That is the holiday.
Okay.
Take it under, we put some sandy stuff, or sandy stuff. I'll be all right. Marcia's stuff. Is that her using, who's trying to figure out who's low scoring?
Let's know what it was.
Yeah.
Whatever credit card says we should buy. It says,
Good questions.
yeah, I don't know. Okay. Utility fund. I would say it's something that John bought in jail.
Like a sump pump, maybe? No telling.
Which line item did it come out of?
You got it right here, don't you?
It says not even a line item. Mine would be a 1055 or 1066. 55 is I don't know whose account this is. Even Marcia's is not this type of number.
I can't figure out who else would have had who would be Lowe's carding us.
That would be it. What's the number? I got this sheet right here. What's the number?
01000557.
Then the new system they use.
Did that come in on my bill?
No, it was just, well, I don't know, it was in this huge stack of bills, it might have been here last week.
I don't see what number. Fix that bill over there. I'll find out.
It's not in my bills.
Kind of odd, isn't it? Or it appeared that way to me.
See, Marcia's, hers would be 1042. Whose account?
That's under courthouse maintenance.
Or didn't they use the right account?
Well, this new system, it's got different numbers assigned to it, so I think she should have put the other number I wish.
I don't have it on an unpaid bill.
104297, was it what number she write?
104257.
57. It's under maintenance supplies.
You wanna take it and look?
Did this come in?
She says it was mailed to their office and that she just wrote the claim out.
Payment due date 4/28.
No, this is an unpaid bill.
Something will drive, doesn't it?
That's
I asked her, Christina, said the bill is mailed to their office, and they've always just.
But your bill should have been mailed to your office, shouldn't it?
Yeah. And it even has Lynn Collins' name still on there, so we need to call them and get the information updated. If you look at the.
You wanna take it and check it out?
Yeah, I do.
If you wanna look at the cover of it, it's got Lynn Collins' name on it.
Because the way this is right now, we'll never take it off my budget. I didn't even know that it was even spent. Yeah.
And it could be that it ain't yours.
Yeah, we need to find out what those, what that was purchased for.
I think that's happened in the past, when somebody buys an air conditioner, they'll charge it to Lowe's, and it comes out of my budget, but I never know it.
Yeah, and it may not, and it don't necessarily even,
Yeah.
shouldn't even affect it.
Yeah, we probably should call Lowe's and get our information updated on it. Have it come to your mailing address, get the proper name on it.
On the account.
Yeah, I don't know how they're even using the car.
Yeah, how many cars we got floating around here?
John's the only one I knew that had it.
I mean, Glenn's passed away.
Last week, we had to get, it was outfit I was looking to come do the fire alarm inspection at the annex. We're hearing some sounds up there, and we thought maybe it was a backflow problem with the valve. Not sure that it was not, but the system hadn't been really inspected since we moved in, so
Yeah.
they wanted to do that. Give it the code.
I'll give these to Christina, and the yellow ones, right?
Yeah.
That, why is that, petty cash, 1,000, how's that?
We just had the jailer go to school this week, so we used the money that we had for him to buy food.
Okay. In other words, he just brings back receipts and gives it to Sandy,
Yeah.
so there's a check and balance.
Yeah. He's up there for 5 weeks, so it should cover that.
The whole 5 weeks?
Yeah.
Pretty full.
We had over 50, at least 2 days over the weekend. We're probably right at 50 right now.
Everybody wants to hang out at your house.
If you notice, not the containers out here, I'm getting those painted.
No, I didn't notice that. Who's doing it for you?
Johnny Brown, he's having to sandblast them first and paint them, and, since they were gotten from the LESO program, he's gonna pay for it out of the LESO program.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be right at $1,000 to do it, but we'll pay for that.
You blast and paint them for 1,000.
I mean, right now, we're using both of them, they're full of stuff.
They just spray them, or they roll the paint on there?
Spray them. I've got one more container out, by the county fire station, we really need it up here, but I don't know where I put it.
You're kinda out of real estate, ain't you?
Yeah. But the storage space is coming in handy.
Talk to Keith, we own that land next door.
Yeah, he's not using that parking lot.
We may have to.
Plus it's the county, that's what you can tell me.
Yeah.
Tell him you said on the board.
Let's just park it all real good on his property.
Do like the guys out there on North Avenue, just put whatever you want, wherever you want. Out there behind that nice shed where they park them big red trucks, on the east side of that. They got a bunch of them storage containers, look to me like out there.
Yeah.
Just put them wherever you want, whether you're on the ground or not.
I'll check on this.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
See you later. Oh, I guess we can. You want to?
I did a survey, I think.
No?
Of course, you could probably look at that on the table. I did it anyway, call them.
You did. Just, I gotta find my.
Comparison, you know.
I ain't working in Hardin County.
Huh?
I'm not working in Hardin County.
There ain't no shaking up there.
Now, Jason, how will we go about that? Will we go back, or will we figure ahead 4 years and say,
It's just gotta be for their,
2% a year, or how are we gonna do that?
it's just gotta be for their term, so it would start December 1st of 2018 through the next 4 years.
You can set it at a flat rate or percentage raises, or
Yeah. So,
Well, of course, you don't know what the cost of living will be.
it looks like the last one we did was 4%. That's what the,
A year?
yeah. Huh?
4% or 4% a year.
4% a year. This one right here, when I look at
Yeah,
that sheet,
I got you.
Yeah, I think I got that.
looks like it was 4%. And then we've skipped the last 4 years,
Yeah.
except the circuit clerk had the last 4 years, which is on this sheet there.
Well, the information I've got on there's not correct, is it?
Which part?
December 1st, 17, circuit clerk should be making 45,805, is that correct?
Yeah.
I've got 41,630. No.
Circuit clerk, you're right, you're
No.
pretty close to right.
Yeah.
You're $800 off.
Yeah, that's right.
Where did you get your false information? Oh, my goodness.
Did I explain it or what?
Is that, have you all answered that question, or would you all? Well, what I'd like to do is, you all, we can decide today, so we can put on the agenda for next week on what to vote on their salaries. I mean, what are you all interested in doing?
Wonder, on this bill, probably a question for Juanita's office. Was the county paying in the premium to the insurance on Lori? Or was we just taking it out of her check and putting it in general, or?
Not sure.
I can't recall if that's been answered, or asked. It'll have to come out of general warrant to pay her back. That's where her,
What's the issue, is she's not taking health insurance?
no, she got her health insurance through a spouse or wherever she got it from. And it was still being deducted from her paycheck
Since what, last fall?
since November of 17.
She needs to be reimbursed back.
Jason, if you have to go, I mean, we've got plenty of time to do this, don't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have until 6 months before the election, but I mean, just whatever y'all wanna do.
Well, I still want to do something in haste.
Okay.
What-
We've been talking about it for 2 or 3 weeks, but I don't think it's been hasty.
We've been talking about it.
Well, it's been on the agenda.
We talked about it, but hadn't thought about it, huh?
We can talk without thinking.
I mean, this 4% you're talking about,
I'm just saying that's what it was previously. If you look at it, they were getting 4% a year. Rates. December 1st, 2010 through 2013.
okay.
If you do the math on it, it's 4% a year. I'm not saying that's what it has to be in the future. I'm just saying that's what it was in the past. Now, we did skip 4 years on, they haven't had a raise since 2000. I guess since, well, November 30th of, December 1st of 2013 was their last raise.
Gerald, may I open your mouth?
Me too.
Honorable Gerald Childers, Chairman, Board of Massac. And it's certified mail.
I don't mind you doing it,
Why don't you open it?
but I'm opposed to them on that, and I told them that.
Yeah.
I get mail and you do too.
It's
They've
open,
opened up,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, that's not good.
All right, I'm gonna head on.